Hey YouTube, this is Robinats1 here, and today I have a review for you, episode 12, Vertigo. This episode deals with Thea Dearden Queen, who is named after Mia Dearden, the second Speedy in the DC Comics, tried for possession of illegal drugs and driving under the influence of intoxication. That was a mouthful. Bringing the reality of all of her mistakes from the last episodes and probably years in light in a very, very serious way. Oliver attempts to find out who is behind Vertigo, leading him to a man named the Count. Count Vertigo is a Green Arrow villain, is one of his primary villains. Oliver also meets an ex-flame in his life, McKenna Hall, played by Janina Garwinkar, who is from True Blood, introducing a potential love interest for Oliver, adding a nice change to his character. I noticed in this episode how pessimistic Starling City was. Going off from what I said last episode, the judge who wanted to make an example of Thea and really didn't believe in her and was actually kind of harsh towards her. And even Diggle was pessimistic in this episode. And it's interesting to see a Starling City that doesn't seem to believe in that people can change, that people do have the capacity for good. And Laurel is a welcoming change to that, adding some optimism into a show that is really quite pessimistic. Thea, however, acts like a total bitch. She flat out refuses to accept Laurel's offer to be her community social worker person, despite her mother. Thea's relationship with her mother is strained, and she just doesn't trust her anymore. Moira is put into a difficult position in this episode, and she is called out on Moira's behaviour. Thea accepts the community work with Laurel after learning that Robert Queen cheated on her. Thea is now in a position to make an active change in her life. I hope to see her character continue to grow from here. Laurel says that she has potential to be a good person when speaking to her father regarding Thea, and she takes it upon herself to be a role model for Thea, which she views like her sister. It's revealed that Sarah Lance was no saint, and that she often committed acts like Thea did. Laurel was really good this episode, and I liked her optimism in an otherwise very pessimistic episode. I also thought that Oliver and Laurel moments were cute. The way they would say the same things, which I kind of liked. Count Vertigo was a character who I couldn't put my finger on. The actor who played the Count was Seth Gable, who also had played the Mad Hatter in Once Upon a Time. The Count is a sort of mixture between the Mad Hatter and Scarecrow. He has the madness of Mad Hatter, but the mind of Dr. Crane from Batman Begins. Rather than being a respected nobleman, he is a drug lord, and is called the Count because his victims were left with vampire-like marks on their neck. adding a vampirism element to the story. I thought this was a great way of introducing his character. It added a level of intrigue to him, and also the fact that it took 56 people to die in order to perfect the perfect high was brilliant. The character has a quirk that makes him interesting. However, I think the madness was a bit too much for the character, and I think some people viewed him kind of like a bad Joker in a way. However, where he is left off at the end of the episode, I think the show wanted to add powers to the Arrow universe. The direction that they take the Count is a very interesting way of doing it. More of Starling City's crime underbelly is explored in this episode. Oliver using his connections in the Russian mafia to find the Count, and we see that grey area superhero come out to play. Also, there is a slight twist in this episode that sees Oliver fighting with fists rather than his bow. Oliver suffers from a forced drug overdose, which added a lot of variety in Oliver's fighting style, and also provided a funny moment with Felicity where Diggle tells Oliver that his cover stories are getting worse. And I really liked the fight scenes in the later parts of the episode, as it was just quite different. Finally, we have more flashback scenes that sees Oliver and Yao Fei fighting each other in a gladiator ring. Yao Fei saves him, and Oliver escapes from captivity. The mentor-prodigy relationship is further explored. Whilst not fully explored in the episode, I think it's always fun to see Yao Fei, the master and the student, face off. I think the mentor and prodigy relationship is there, and I enjoyed watching that. Yao Fei plays both sides of the game, like he's working with the mercenaries and he's also Oliver's ally, which is pretty cool. Really good episode, and stay tuned for more Arrow reviews. Subscribe if you haven't subscribed already.